Hello, and welcome to Through the Mist with me, your host, Owen. This is a Word of Verse Theory podcast where we look at the law and try to understand how it all works. In this episode, we'll be looking at
the language of prophecies.
Hello, everybody. And welcome back to Through the Mist. And hello, Darien.
Hi!
Yes, Darien's back because we're looking at language today, and I went, Darien talks about language in another podcast, so I'm going to go message Darien to help me talk about language.
No, for real, this morning when I was getting ready, I was like, why am I on this episode? Like, you just reached out, like, do you want to be on an episode? I'm like, I love coming on Through the Mist. I'd be so happy to talk to my friend Owen. I miss Owen so much. So I was just, yeah, absolutely. And then I was like, I hope Owen doesn't ask me, why'd you pick this episode? Because then I'm going to have to say, because you invited me. But that makes so much sense. Yeah, I talk about language and writing and structure all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I thought, you know, who do I know that can help me in the area that I'm not so good at?
Me!
But, as per always, there's housekeeping before we get talking about that stuff. And Darien can plug what that podcast is later, so you know.
I will.
There was a listener question put out on the Instagrams, as per always. Yay, woo!
Yay.
And to be fair, it was a dodgy question because I was not really feeling how to put a question into the universe. So it was, what monument is a secret temple? Mm-hmm. You got one response from a Darcy.
Not from me this time.
No response from Darien. I was like,
sorry.
where's the Darien response? Where is it?
I couldn't think of a good answer.
I know, as well as like, it's a bit of a dodgy question. Darcy just puts the Colosseum in Rome, and then talks about the Vesuvius, the volcano. So I got a bit confused. The volcano, Vesuvius.
From Pompeii.
Yeah.
Huh. I guess. I mean, yeah. I can see. I guess the only temple I could think of was like Empire State Building, and I'm like, well, that's not fun or interesting. Don't say that. But for like Hephaestus specifically, the idea of like every local blacksmith area is a temple to Hephaestus.
But who has a blacksmith these days?
I don't know. Have you read Fran's latest book? Our friend Fran? Her character, Aline, she takes blacksmith classes. So
There somewhere.
I just think that's cute. And I feel like Hephaestus would be very like low key. He wouldn't be like Athena, who's got the St. Louis arch, or Zeus, who did really grandiose, but like things that are more, because he's like the craftsman. He's like Athena is culture and arts.
Yeah, Hephaestus would be some, like, mechanics work.
Yeah, he's the mechanic. Like, every mechanic shop is a temple to Hephaestus. That's much better. Yeah, it's the mechanic shop. And, like, demigods are running, and they're just, like, hiding under... I grew up in a mechanic shop. They're hiding under, like, an old Toyota Camry, and there's grease and grime, and the monsters are prowling around outside, but they can't get in, even though the garage door is open, because it's a temple to Hephaestus.
And that was it. That's all the responses we got, because, you know, someone didn't decide to join in.
I did right now. Actually, I always meant to ask my buddy Dalton because he knows way more about like things than I do, and I'm sure he would have had a good answer, but I totally spaced on asking him.
Artemis. I've now just suddenly decided Artemis gets Grand Central because of the stars in the roof.
Oh, that's cute. How about a Bass Pro Shop? The Bass Pro Shop.
The pyramid.
The pyramid. The Bass. That one is a temple to every Bass Pro Shop, but specifically that one is a temple to Artemis.
The pyramid.
Yeah, the pyramid one that used to be a really bad sporting arena. Now it's a Bass Pro Shop. That's a temple to Artemis.
That's crazy that's like a shop. Like that pyramid is a shop. That's so American.
It is. It's so listen, it's like when you drive by a mechanic shop, not to bring it back to the mechanic shop, and you're driving by and you look at it and the building just looks weird and you're like, oh yeah, that used to be a Pizza Hut.
Talking about things being so American, specifically on my way back from work, because I'm now facing in the right direction to see it, but I think Americans have moved in on a farm down our way, because there's a big old American flag flying outside. I'm like, this is weird. Can you just take your flag down, please? This is so weird.
Crazy. That's so embarrassing. I was like waiting for like, oh, why would he think it's
I'm
American?
embarrassed
like,
for them every time I see it. I'm like, oh, why are you doing that?
That's just rude. You're in someone else's country. Like, don't do that.
And then I have weird flashbacks to driving through America as well when I see it. I'm like, No, not here. No, this is my home.
That's so upsetting, and I would like to formally apologize because that's rude. I mean, I get having maybe like a little one in the house
but
or like
yeah. And
if it's
when I
massive-
say big, it's not big on the size of American. I saw some huge American flags when I was in America.
You were briefly in Texas.
But for a flag in Britain, it's huge.
That's a yikes. That's a big yikes right there. Damn, I'm sorry.
It's weird. It
So
is weird. Talking about weird but wonderful things, San Diego Comic-Con's happened, and I got to acknowledge San Diego Comic-Con. I've got to. I guess it happened. I guess we've got a season 2 trailer now.
Yeah.
Like a proper one.
A proper one, not that
and,
teaser.
Like, we've got the Bianco kids cast for season 3 now. So
Nice.
You know, things are happening.
Things are happening.
Yeah.
They're about to jump right into recording season 3. We got Tyson's. We finally got a clear shot of Tyson with the CGI eye. What do you think of it, Owen? Apparently, there's a lot of discourse about it.
The still they released, looks like it just needs a bit of touching up, but it's a trailer. They've got time.
Yeah.
But the actual moving shot in the trailer looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
So I think it would just depend on their timelines, really. But for a TV show, it looks peak.
It looks big. It looks great. It looks way better than the movie did. That's for sure.
Like, it's a TV show. The budget's technically supposed to be lower than a film. Just.
Yeah. And well, at least I think we're also, like, it seems like they're going to commit to he's going to probably have the one eye in most of the appearances after Percy sees it, rather than in the movie where it just, like, would make him have 2 eyes because I didn't want to keep doing it.
But they did that weird thing with the mist and, like, made it a spray.
Yeah.
That was so dumb.
Now here we're talking about. What are we here to talk about, Owen?
We'll find out after this musical segment.
Woo!
It's King Taco, everybody! Yeah! You can't see it, but it's a cat. Wow.
cat.
That's where it's going to start. We're talking about Language of Prophecies, and this
We are.
This idea came from Miss Buster. Everyone say hi, Beth.
Hi, Beth.
They sent an email, and specifically in that email, they talked about homophones of prophecies, which we will talk about. But I thought, actually, why just not talk about language, the language use, and like why it works? Because there will be a rant at some point in here because, I've thought about this, and but yeah, we'll just go through the weird fun's quirks and the way they're structured and the way that they all come, like, just what happens. Why are they all poets? Why poetry, you know? Why things?
Yeah.
Why just not, why aren't they all like the one that Mars gives to Frank, you know? Because a real prophecy is just instructions.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh, I always forget about the one Mars gives to Frank.
It's not, that's because it's...
But is it not? Like, what?
No.
I guess that's what the episode is about. Is like what makes it. But you've done that. You've done that already. What makes a thing a prophecy?
No, it's not a prophecy because it doesn't come from a prophetic source. That one.
Yeah. Interesting. I guess.
I can't remember who says it. It might be Raina going, according to all our guidelines and standards and like traditions, we need a prophecy to send them on a quest. And Mars is like, okay, this one here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been so long since I've read the Heroes of Olympus books. We haven't gotten to them on Muses yet. That's so funny. We give Muses a lot of justifiable critique. Not Muses, gosh. We give Heroes of Olympus a lot of justifiable critique, but that's funny as hell. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
Rick has some laugh out loud moments.
For sure.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about homophones first, because why not start with the thing that Beth started to talk about?
Brilliant.
And the example that they put in their email was about the use of the word raise and raise. This is going to get complicated because spelling. These come from Annabeth's prophecy in Bottle and then the Great Prophecy. Oh, I wrote read email here. Oh, look at that. And I forgot about that. Let's get the email up.
Pull it up. Where's it at?
So specifically, this is what they. So that's my reply. So specifically, this is like the section that they talk about this. So I have a question about prophecies that haven't seen discussed in the fandom. And Annabeth's prophecy in bottle contains the word raise, rhyming with maze, but spelled with, as in Raise. And at least as she relates it to everyone. And we know the Great Prophecy also includes the word raise, but with a Z. And that is written down in the scroll, and it rhymes with the word days, and then she uses the two variations of days, but I think I can cancel that one out, so that's fine. So, since we don't get Annabeth's perspective in bottle, it is not clear why she concludes it is raised as an uplift. Mm-hmm. So, just the idea that actually, and it never crossed my mind before, and when I read it, I went, oh, why? Why? And it can be a question for general language and English and, isms. But because they just get these prophecies verbally.
Yeah.
Why do they decide, if it's a word that can be homophoned, why do they decide that it is the one it is,
No, for sure. I also had not thought about it until I was looking at the notes. And I was like, oh, yeah, we have the prophecies, written down. But that's not
That's not how they get them.
The Oracle isn't handing them the piece of paper. The Oracle is reciting it. We see the OG Mummy Oracle doing this, and then we see Rachel doing it a bunch. And it's not like she is then, recording it in text on her cave walls or anything like that. So it is a decision that the recipient is making that is part of, I think, an overlooked part of their actually interpretation of the prophecy. And that is actually leading to their decisions in regarding how they are responding to it, which I think Apollo talks about a lot in the Trials of Apollo, where prophecy is important because it isn't what traps you in with fate and future, but what frees you to take action.
Yes. See, this is why I brought Darien on, people. I'm bad with this sort of English lesson breakdown. So I brought on someone that I thought might be half decent at it. And they are, which is great.
Owen's very smart with the other part of his brain, and I'm very smart with the other part of my brain.
So I, being me, went on the wiki and went through every single prophecy that we have.
And they're color-coded.
And yeah, they're color-coded. In case I wanted to reference them at any point. And I knew which book they were from quickly. Even though I've given them names. It doesn't matter. So I went through and actually had a look. And really, the raise one, I think, is the only homophone that we truly have. There's some others, so Beth in the email talks about days and days. But if you, I think, in the bottle prophecy. But I think the key thing with just how homophones work when we speak is context. And this context is huge. Oh no, single choice will end his days. You're not going to be talking about someone falling asleep in that context. Have a little daze.
But you arguably could. It could also be interpreted as a character is in a daze, is in a trance, is separate from themselves. And this could bring them back into themselves. If that is how the demigod wanted it to be. If they truly wanted to believe that there was hope. In his days is that person is dying. And his days suggests, you could bring them back. Because this one is, who is this one referred? Is this Luke or Percy being referred to?
That's Luke. Right. And this is the one thing I want them to change. This is a want change for the show, is to change that line of the Great Prophecy to say there. And that's it.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
It's the same length syllable, and it makes it a bit more ambiguous.
Yeah. But in that context, a single choice shall end his days. If you really wanted to interpret it as the other form of days to be more hopeful, I could actually see that being a really interesting subplot with if they really wanted to lean into the Percy and Annabeth's disagreement on how to bring back Luke, or that Luke even could be saved, if Annabeth decides, no, I think we're using homophones, what if it's this instead? Maybe we can really save him, especially after he's been possessed by Kronos, and that could be interpreted as a daze. You're not making your real choices. You're not fully in yourself. That could be it, but it's not. But it could be as a misdirect.
It could
but it's
be.
like I think it is an oversight on the how Rick Riordan has decided prophecy will work within his stories to have this rhyming and purely verbal form of communication. And the relationship the characters could have with that, and how they are choosing to interpret what those words mean
and then this being a purely written form of entertainment.
Yes.
It really, like, what's the word when they don't quite the synergy isn't quite there.
Yeah.
There's a word there.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is.
I'm not sure either. We're both just doing this thing with our hands, and I'm also not sure.
I was going to talk about the raises. The daisies was just a quick thing.
I know, but then my brain was like, but wait! Let's talk about the raises, though.
We're finished with the great prophecy, with the Olympus to Perseveral raise. And I think the context there is useful. Because, to be fair, I didn't know that raise with the Z existed until these books. But it would be weird to use or if you're saying preserve or raise as in raise up, as in go higher. Like, that context, the context of that and the word or goes, well, no, they should be opposites, or at least diopposed. They can't be the same thing.
Yeah, because they are.
So I think in that context, like, that's a sensible choice.
Yeah.
But in Annabeth's prophecy, in the bottle prophecy, you get raise in the line, the dead, the traitor, and the lost one raise. Mm-hmm. And I think there, if you know about raise with the Z, you could go, actually, could the lost one die? Could the lost one go down?
That. Yeah.
Is it? There's a question there. And then the lost one is on about, I'm pretty sure or they think that lost one is Pan.
Yeah.
And they think it's in raise and he'll come back. But what if it genuinely is raise as in pass on? Because it's what he does.
That's actually what happens. That is actually what happens in the story, is they find Pan and he passes on. This one raise. What's also fascinating is that in the structure of the prophecy, right after we have raise, 3 words later is rise. Like, you shall rise or fall by the ghost king's hand. The dead, the traitor, the lost one raise. But you also... Okay, hold on. Who is the dead and who is the traitor?
You shall deliver the darkness, the dead, the traitor, and the lost one raise. Is that Daedalus? I think is that line just about Daedalus? I'm having a look at the wiki.
The way it's structured, it implies that they all 3 will be raised.
Nico, the son of Hades, raises... Oh, no, yeah. So Nico raises the dead. Ethan Nakamura is the traitor, was spared, and then Pan's spirit.
Yeah, Nico raises the dead.
Is how the wiki unveils that prophecy.
No, that makes sense, because...
And I think the lost one is always supposed to be Pan.
Yeah.
How Rick structures prophecies, and he never really overtly looks back at them and go, this is what this line meant, this is what this line meant, this is what this line meant.
Yeah, it's not...
Especially towards the end. He does it for the first one, but that's because there's the line that doesn't get completed until,
Yeah, much later.
The betrayal.
And that's the only reason we unravel is because it's Percy picking it apart and realizing, wait, I'm missing something, something's off for, like, the conclusion of the narrative. But in the other ones, I also think Rick recognizes that the listeners are smart enough that if they want to go back, they will. Or readers are smart enough that if they want to, like, oh, this is what this meant, he doesn't have to hold their hand to be like, see how smart and clever I was? This all matched up.
Yeah, it's so I think with the clue, with Grover assuming the lost one is Pan, we actually find Pan, then, like, the intention of the prophecy, which is weird to, like, on a meta level to say that, because it's the intention of Rick's version of that prophecy, but then also the intention of the prophecy itself that was told. Like, that's weird on the meta level, but the lost one is always supposed to be Pan.
I think we're trying, like, the dead, the traitor, the lost one raise. The dead, the traitor, and the lost one are not the ones who are being raised. They are doing the raising. Maybe not so much the dead, but, like, Ethan Nakamura raises Kronos by betraying them after Percy spared him. And Pan raises Grover into his new role of like Lord of the Royal. Like, they are not the ones being raised, they're doing the raising. And so I think that's another reason why it is so much how the person who is receiving the prophecy is interpreting what they think it's going to mean. Because it is true, but it's just like it could have been raised, as in will be raised down, but it's these three things that makes it raised, but they couldn't have possibly known that until it happened. Especially because Annabeth herself knows raise with a Z is such a big part of the Great Prophecy. Like, that is what they've decided, and it must be, because again, preserve or raise, it wouldn't make sense if it was R-A-I and not R-A-Z. But like, it's interesting in her own prophecy, she does not consider the fact that maybe this might be R-A-Z in hers. Because...
Or it could be a cool thing and it's both at the same time.
And it is kind of both at the same time. I like that too.
And that's then the beauty of spoken language versus written language. You know? In this scenario, it's both at the same time.
Because here's another thing about spoken and written language. I couldn't find a recording of a single actual ancient Greek prophecy. There's a ton of them. We know the prophecy of Oedipus. We know Cassandra gets prophecies, Perseus' prophecies. But like, I couldn't find the prophecy itself. I just could find people talking about it.
Yes.
Yes.
But when you would go to prophets, that's the word I was looking for. When you go to prophets, oracles, you would get a little bit of paper that's written down. The oracles, same difference in this. And yes, oracles specifically, to be fair. Not prophets, but everyone
it's all the same. It's all the same.
They would write them down because it would be someone whispering in someone's ear, high on drugs, and then they would get a written note in, then go, hey, there you go, that's your prophecy. Or speak it back to them. Who knows? I don't know. I'll have to ask Emily again.
I know, we should ask Emily. Do we have that? Because, like...
I don't know. I've never looked at it.
Right. Well, because I was trying to, like, in Greek myth, like, the first, like, what are the big ones from Greek mythology? And the first one I thought was, like, oh, Oedipus is, like, you'll kill your father and marry your mother. And I'm like, okay, but what was the verbiage of that prophecy? Like, do we have it? Did it come in some sort of rhythmic way? Was it, like, the same way they recorded the epics in this poetic meter? Like, what was that? And I couldn't find it. Maybe I just didn't do a good job looking. But, like, I think... There's also, like, in this show, we try to figure out how it all works. And especially in the context of Rick Riordan making decisions for his prophecies will rhyme like this. They will be poetry in a way that I'm not sure prophecies in mythology were, except that it's a trope for prophecies to rhyme.
We'll get to that.
Oh! Sorry, I'm going ahead.
I'm going a little bit ahead. But we can just close this out, because, to be honest... We're basically done with the homophones bit. We've kind of talked through them. They're the only real ones I could see, but then I'm not that great at seeing them sometimes. I did read all the prophecies to my mum. She was like, oh, what are you recording the next episode on? And I went, oh, this. And she went, oh, I'll see if I can help you find them. So I read them all and she couldn't think of any. So...
Oh, that's so sweet. Shout out to Owen's mum.
I think a lot of this is context.
Yeah.
And I think it's... Like, and a lot of language is about context, both written and spoken. Like, my favourite thing I see occasionally pop up on my feed is that I found out this word because I was like, there's homophones. There's got to be a word for that for the written version, and it is heteronyms. Heteronyms. And that is, if you read as read and not read, you have to reread read as read so you can read read correctly. And it's just a lot because it's the same spelling.
Yep. I like that.
But yeah, we'll go talk about poetry now.
Yay!
So, poetry. As I said, we're going to talk about poetry, and we can't talk about the language of prophecy without mentioning the fact that it's all poetry.
It is.
Because it's the big obvious thing about it, especially in these books. And the fact that different types of poetry have different levels of dread represented
That's so
with them.
funny. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's after like 15 books of this is the way the prophecies are, and then in like Trials of Apollo, it's like, but sometimes it's a different kind of poem, and things are worse.
Yeah. I pulled a quote. The sonnet conveys only the most elaborate prophecies with multiple moving parts. None of them good, I fear. So,
I like.
yeah. Apparently, the more complicated the poetry, the more dreadful the prophecy.
I think that's great. Hey, what's the difference between a poetry, like a poem, and a nursery rhyme? Because sometimes I feel like the prophecies are more nursery rhyme than poem.
I'm now trying to think of a nursery rhyme.
Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
Humpty
All the king horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. Or Hickory Dickory Dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck one and down he ran.
I think it's like the difference between spoken word and rap. One of them is with music and one of them is without.
But nursery rhymes don't inherently have music to them. They often do, but I think that comes later.
Yeah, I didn't look that up. And
no,
this is a pure guess. Also, please no one get at me for what I just said about spoken word and rap. I get they're from different places. I understand that. It's just if you look at them purely on a fundamental level, that's all I'm saying.
No, I think
culturally very different. I understand.
But as are poetry and nursery rhymes, and I'm just trying to figure out how we decide when prophecies start to be interpreted as poems. And is that when Apollo rolls up and starts pointing out different poetic styles when we interpret all the previous ones as a poem?
Fun fact. Poems and prophecies have always been intertwined.
I love that. Please go on.
So and you can see this in the etymology of the words.
Oh, yeah.
So there is an old language spoken in India, which has this, and then Latin is the obvious one and the one I could actually understand because I'm reading English. So vatus in Latin can be translated to either poet or oracle or prophet, bard. It has all those meanings. So you spoke in poetry to when you conveyed these things. These people were poets that did this, but then our prophets and seers diverged and we just had normal poetry that wasn't linked to, religion, basically.
I like that. That's really cool.
So yeah, there's that in Latin. There's another word which I didn't want to attempt, so I haven't even wrote it down, but from a Proto-Indian consonant language, which has the same etymology if you go through. It has the same split. So the idea that prophecies are poems is just kind of a thing. So if it's a prophecy, it's a poem. That's just what it is.
Cool. Okay, yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less.
It just is that thing. Sometimes just the thing is because it is.
It is what it is.
Because it's always been that way. And it's interesting to interrogate why and question if that is still a valuable way to do a thing. But it's okay if sometimes it's just, it is that way. But we shouldn't necessarily do the thing because it's always been that way. But the fact that it is that way now doesn't inherently make it bad or wrong. And it makes it really interesting to dissect as to why and how. And
I just also, clearly Rick's favourite form of poetry, or at least the easiest for them to write, is rhyming couplets. That's just... Clearly.
The AABB.
Just rhyming couplets. That's all they do. As Darien just pointed out, until the Trials of Apollo books, that's all we get. Mm-hmm. And then Rick's like, do you know what? I'm going to delve into different types of poetry. But talking about rhyming couplets, I have a bugbear and just a confusion.
Okay.
With regards to the Prophecy of the Seven. So, the Prophecy of the Seven is first ever written down in the early days of Rome when you put it in those books.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And it's written in Latin.
Interesting.
Or at least a version of Latin that then Jason knows. So, our I'll put some little bit of disbelief there and say that Latin is Latining. And it hasn't changed at all, which is wild to say. But what this does mean is that somehow a Latin poem can be translated into English rhyming couplets.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is part of a long tradition of when translating epics like Homer or Virgil or Beowulf into the language for the translator's audience, trying to continue to preserve the artistic decisions from the original text and like try to continue to make them rhyme.
Yes, I understand that. That's fine. But in this context, you also have Rachel Elizabeth Dare giving the prophecy in English for the first ever time. From a different oracle source.
Is Rachel specifically giving the English translation of the prophecy that the Roman demigods already have? So when it lines up, they're all like, oh, we're all on the same page.
Maybe. I was just getting mad at the fact that this happened, not think about that.
Because if again, jumping into Trials of Apollo, and Apollo's statement on prophecy is
this is where we get everything.
This is
Trials
where
of Apollo is like...
Rick gave us so much.
It's a gold mine. It's a
gold
mine.
mine. Well, it's because we're actually with a god who understands what's going on in the world, and so suddenly we're getting some solid answers.
He talks about a dung beetle pushing the sun through the sky. You know, it's great.
Love him. He's a train wreck bisexual, to be sure, but he at least knows what's going on most of the time. But the thing he says is, like, it is, again, as I mentioned earlier, like, prophecy is the thing that's meant to drive into action, and it's to help demigods in this confusing, mythological, dangerous world feel like they understand and what path to take. And so the point of the prophecy of the Great Seven or the Great Prophecy of the Seven, is to get Roman and Greek demigods together. Like, they need to be working together. And so if we had a version of the prophecy that was different in one camp versus the other because of a translation thing, that could make it harder for them to have gotten together to work together, because they would be like, the Greek demigods would be like, no, this is it, and the Roman demigods, and like, we've seen religious fights and death and holy wars over one translation versus another translation that came to a different conclusion over major things. If one line is slightly different, they don't click. So I think maybe Rachel is literally giving the same version the Romans have to avoid that, to when they compared notes, they realize they are on the same page.
This is a good idea. Also, it fuels the theory that all oracle mythology future telling comes from the same source, and they're just different points of contact with it.
For sure. Hey, can we talk about Magnus Chase just real quick?
Yeah.
Put in a little music note right here, because I'm about to take us completely off topic.
Vicious Vikings!
Hey, Rick Riordan made some crazy decisions for the Magnus Chase prophets and the prophecies of the Norns that just straight up don't track with how prophecy worked in Norse mythology.
You may have noticed I've ignored the
You did.
Norse
I know you did. And
episode.
I just wanted us to come over here real quick. That's why I was like, just do a sound cut real quick and just bring us to a little space so I can say this thing that drives me absolutely up the wall, is that he really just continued to do the thing that he was doing with the Greek and Roman, like all over the board. He just continued to do the thing, but come over and play in Norse mythology land. Don't get me wrong. I love the Magnus Chase book. I think Ship of the Dead is my favorite one of all of these books. But he really just has the rhyming couplet thing again. He has it be used as if it's going to direct them to do things. And that is just not how it worked in myth. And I get Rick made a lot of decisions, and I love that for him. But this is the one thing that I'm just like, and that's why we're not talking about it, but I did need to talk about it here. Okay, Owen, cue the music. Let's get back on topic.
No, I didn't talk about it because I knew.
Yeah.
Research-wise and history-wise, it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
And then just to cover, since we're talking about all the other books, just cover them off. There are no prophecies in the Egyptian books. So
There are no because there's also prophecy is not a thing in the Egyptian mythology, at least not that I've come across so far. I'm sure an expert might be able to tell us more. I'm not that woman.
Out the window.
Welcome back from mini rant.
It was important. Okay.
To initial rant, because I'm not over it. Because we get two lines in Latin in the books. And I'm sure someone that knows Latin has already done this, read this, and gone, what the heck have they done here? Because obviously, in the world that we're coming from, they've translated the English into Latin.
Yes.
That's the direction it's happened, like, on a...
The meta level.
Yeah. And then in the books, it's technically happened the other way round. But, you know, Rick's not going to write a prophecy in Latin and translate it to English. That's just because he thinks in English. So,
yeah.
to be fair, I Google translated, but I did use like 4 other translators as well, and it all gave me the same thing, so I just trusted the Google one.
Okay.
The Latin, and this is what it says verbatim, like not rejiggled or whatever. Well, I say verbatim, you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Like converted to English sentence structure, but not changing the words too much. Mm-hmm. So the line should be, an oath to keep with a final breath, and foes bear arms to the doors of death. They're the lines we're looking at. And what the Google Translate from Latin to English gives out is, so that with the last spirit we may swear the sacrament, and the enemies will add ornaments to the doors of death. The first line, I'm like, I can see how you get there. Mm-hmm. The last spirit, final breath, swear the sacrament, oath to keep, you know? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so with their final breath, they swear an oath. You know? I see that. I get it.
I see the
vision.
vision.
That makes sense. And the enemies will add ornaments to the doors of death.
That's so different.
And foes bear arms, and enemies will add ornaments. I struggled to work out how they did that.
No, for sure. Yeah. I can see where you get there. I guess the thing is like when I totally lost the plot for a second there. In translations of, you know, the Odyssey, the Iliad, Beowulf, when trying to preserve that like rhyming structure that's there because it would have rhymed, because that's how we do, like, that's why nursery rhymes rhyme. It's because they're meant to be memorized, and our brains are good at memorizing things that rhyme. And so these old stories, these old epics rhyme. We like patterns. And so our brains like that, and that's why they were to rhyme, because people were reciting them from memory. And so they're trying to preserve it in a translation. But that's for entertainment value. When you have a prophecy that's meant to be giving you divine knowledge of your future, you wouldn't make those creative changes. You're right. It doesn't make sense for it to still rhyme if it rhymed in Latin, because that implies you are making
it also doesn't rhyme in Latin, but
Rick, what the hell?
In Latin, the one we're given in Latin, because obviously that's the one. I did do the reverse and went English to Latin to see what came out, and something different comes out. But in Latin, it's something like ut cum spiritu post riema sacramentum degerimus et hostes ornamenta adante ad ianum necem. So you got mus and m, which, you know, that's...
Owen, that suggests that prophecies only rhyme in English. That historical demigods, like in the Riordan world, that in history, when they were in ancient Greek and speaking Latin, they don't rhyme.
Do you know what I didn't look up?
What?
When did rhyming couplets become a thing?
When did rhyming couplets become? That's so important. But yeah, this is suggesting like
history of rhyming couplets.
Because if that one line of what we've been told is an ancient prophet, it's from the Sibylline books, right? No, where did that come from? Why did the
yes.
Which is ancient because the Sibylline books are like the last king of Rome.
Yeah. So it's
because she throws him in the fire. It's ancient. And so, if they don't rhyme in that text, they didn't rhyme until the prophecy started being delivered in English.
But the rhyme couplet ancient English verse in the early Middle English period through the imitation of medieval Latin and Old French models. So rhyming is more of a Romantics thing than a Germanics thing.
That tracks so hard. So maybe Beowulf doesn't rhyme.
I mean, if it's written in Old English, no.
No.
I don't know when Beowulf's from.
Oh, it's like the first, like, Germanic language epic poem we have written down. I have a translation of Beowulf. It's downstairs. I could go get it. I don't think it rhymes.
Verses came in See, this is the thing. I don't understand poetry. Unless it rhymes, my brain's like, how is that poetry? Or it has a rhythm. Like, spoken word is basically poetry.
Yeah, it has a rhythm. And it uses the tools of... Here's the other thing where I'm like, I don't think these are poems. They rhyme for sure. But another thing poetry does is it uses tools of the medium in communicating. So a poem doesn't have to rhyme to be a poem, but sometimes it's using simile and metaphor and double language, right, to communicate this idea. Whereas the prophecies don't do that. They're vague, but they're very straightforward.
But most of them also do have a
yeah. But so does Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, How I Wonder What You Are. I'm going to put forth, I don't think this is my crazy hot take. I'm going to put forward this crazy thing. And this is just to say something entertaining for your listeners. This is not to argue with you or even say I truly believe this, but I'm going to stand on this statement. I think they're not poems. I think they're nursery rhymes.
You're going to die on this. Oh,
I'm not willing to die on this hill. I don't care about... If someone wants to argue with me, I will leave the hill. Like, we'll just go get McFlurries. I don't care that much. I'm not going to die on this hill. I just think... If I had a thought, I'm going to say it. I don't think they're poems. I think they're nursery rhymes.
I think some of the later ones, I think we could...
Oh, Trials of Apollo is poem, for sure. But I think everything before that is a nursery rhyme. Because it's funnier.
7 half-blood shall answer the call. The stone will fire,
the world must fall.
Oh, to keep to the final breath
and foes bear arms to the door of death. Like, it has the bouncy rhythm, and if you... Just notice how it becomes much less scary if you say it like that.
It doesn't tell us... Is that
the
difference
tell a
between
story.
a nursery rhyme and a poem?
Yeah.
No, but it's not a complete story.
But, like...
It's not a clear story. It's just thoughts.
But that's, I
don't know.
Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and the Itsy Bitsy Spider, they're just, like, little vignettes. But it does, like, have a story. Like, you shall delve in the darkness of the endless maze. The dead, the traitor, the lost one raised. You shall rise or fall by the ghost. Gets too many syllables. So the Battle of the Labyrinth one doesn't work.
Fall
They're
or rise
too
by the
long.
Ghost King's hand. The child of Venus' final stand.
Destroy with the hero's final breath and lose a love to worse than death. Those last ones work, but like the middle two sentences have too many syllables.
I think if it's just 4 lines, it really hits.
It really hits when it's just 4 lines. But and again, I bet. Okay, hold on. Let me look up. What's the difference between a poem and a nursery rhyme? And it may be there's not one. It may be this is fundamentally the way we categorize. It's like when it's YA or when it's sci-fi, but if it's written by a woman, it's more likely just to be put in YA than like adult fantasy because of inherent sexism in the industry, even if the characters are older and it's dealing with more mature things. It may be the difference between a nursery rhyme and a poem is if they point at it and say, this is for children, we have nothing to learn about it, and it's like, it could be academic snobbishness. And I'm not into that. I'm not trying to be an academic snob. I'm trying to be a silly little whimsical elf.
I watched something the other day. It was like humans need to categorize things is really murky.
Yeah. Hey man, this Google
I watched a video about about the elements.
Oh yeah.
Like, how they were used in stories, and like that was it. And like the fact that when they were trying to fit the entire universe into 4 to 5 elements.
Yeah.
Not including cheese, because that's a rich joke.
Cheese.
Even though cheese is the void.
It is the void.
That they would just come and hit these things because it just doesn't make sense. Because we will, but that's that vibes based. That's the same as that.
It's all vibes.
But it's vibes. Vibes doesn't work. Vibes doesn't hold up to scrutiny.
It doesn't. Hey, a nursery rhyme is just a kind of poem. There's actually not a difference. It's a subclass of poem.
It is a poem.
It is a poem.
It's a specific poem, though.
So here's so actually, I will die on this hill. The pre-Trials of Apollo prophecies are in the style poem of nursery rhyme. These are so we are still following nursery rhymes.
No. The Hidden Oracle one is 100% a nursery rhyme.
That's true. It starts at, you're right. So after that.
There once was a god named Apollo who plunged into a cave, blue and hollow. Upon a 3-seater, the bronze fire eater was forced death and madness to swallow.
That's also a limerick.
I think it is, but it feels very nursery rhyme.
Yeah. Limerick
I think it's the once there rhyme. Once was. I think it's there's once was that makes me go nursery rhyme.
Yep. I think also a fun limerick for kids. I think the categorization of a nursery rhyme is that it's a rhyming story for children. Therefore, this is a limerick and a nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
What a crazy episode.
Isn't English fun, everybody? Isn't English fun?
Hey, do the
I
poems...
hated it at school.
No, here's the thing. We were talking about, they only rhyme in English. What are the prophecies in the translations of the books for other languages? Do the prophecies still rhyme? Listeners.
I mean, yes. Oh, why didn't I think of that?
Because your brain works on other things.
English-centric thinking. There I am at it again.
It's very ethnocentristic of us. It took us an hour to get here.
However, they're written English first, so I think this is okay in this context.
I think that is okay. Yeah, they're trying. So I guess that's a translation choice. But exactly, we just pointed out in the Latin to this one, it's like that doesn't track. So I guess that is like the choice of the translator.
Ornaments. Why did they use the word ornaments? Anyone listening that studied Latin, explain that one to me, because I googled the word on its own, the ornamenta, and it went plural for ornaments in Latin, and I went great. And then I googled just Latin ornaments, and it just went, no, these are just ornaments, the things you hang. And I'm like, cool. So nothing to do with bearing arms.
Yeah,
because that's the only bit. That's the bit that's missing.
It's the bit that's missing. It's like well, you could be ornamented.
Well, add ornaments. Will bear. Yeah, but you're not. But that's not. I guess that's bearing arms.
Yeah,
in a way, is like if a sword's an ornament.
Yeah, I think there's just not a word choice that tracks. There's not a word choice that communicates
history
what you
nerds
wanted
listening, please do get in touch.
Tell us. What's that email, Owen?
through.t.mist@gmail.com. Send
Email
it that way.
Come on, Mythbusters, let us know. I can't find the prophecies in another language. And that's not to say they don't exist. I'm just saying, I am not being able to find them in my quick Google search of trying to.
The thing is, you also be able to read the language to work out if it rhymes.
That's true.
Unless it's a romantics. I could probably guess if it's a romantics, because the last few letters would have to be the same.
Right, that's what I was saying. You'd be able to, but if it's also if it's written in a different script style, okay, I can't find it. Never mind, the preview lied to me. So, yeah, that's a great question for any Mythbusters out there who read these books in another language. Do they rhyme?
I may see if I have contacts. I probably don't. I say contacts. I'm in the Seaweed Brain Discord server. I think some of them speak not English. So.
Oh, me too. Why don't we just go over and ask right now?
As a first language.
There's always somebody in there. Hold on.
That's my only port of call.
Are you doing it? I'm doing it. Do you want to do it? You should do it.
We're both doing it. Oh,
that's so funny.
It's very,
Boom.
Two different people talking there.
Yeah, just real quick. We'll see.
We'll see if someone comes back. Probably not before the end of the episode, but I'll add a little bit afterwards.
Hey!
I'll editing Owen might come in.
Hello. So yes, editing Owen here. We do have feedback. We got feedback. Yay! Everyone say yay. So in Spanish, they don't rhyme, but I have been informed that they would still count as poetry in Spanish, which is good to know. Everyone see that? There's something about it being in French as well. Hang on, let me find out. Oh, hang on. I should have done this better. They rhyme after book one in French. That's about it. So, yeah. Creative choices, but they don't always rhyme, but they might always be poetry. And there's gendered words which confuse things as well in French. So, woo! Yay!
Hi, Editing Owen. Thanks for coming in and letting us know the answer to that. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Did he speak? Was he there?
I'm
I think
manifesting.
we'll end it there, though, Darien. I think that's... Oh, how have you done this again? It's been an hour.
I know your last episode was 24 minutes.
I think there's quite a few cuts I can do in this one, but still, it's
Are you
going to
cut out me
Have
interrupting and talking about Magnus Chase? How dare you?
Yeah.
That's a funny bit.
Fine.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I'm not cutting that bit. That bit's 5 minutes, but there's some pauses and
a
few
for
bits
sure.
I can cut down.
Silence truncate for sure. No, this is a pleasure. I love coming and talk. Oh, I also I do tend to make, when I'm on guest on my friends' episodes, they do tend to be long. And I don't really do that on purpose, it's not maliciously. I just am having such a fun time with my friends, I don't want it to stop. So I'll share every little thought I have.
I think we've come to a natural place to end
Yes,
the conversation about prophecies. If this wasn't a recorded episode, I would just move the conversation somewhere else and keep talking.
For sure.
But
Hey, did we come up with a conclusion? Like, what's the answer?
the answer, this was more of a discussion.
Okay.
But I think the answer is that prophecies are nursery rhymes.
Yes,
And,
yes. Mm-hmm.
And homophones do make a difference.
They do.
And there are some ones that could be argued they have misinterpreted.
Mm-hmm.
And if at any point Rick wants to play with that, you're
Would be
more
real
than
cool.
welcome for us pointing it out to you. That's
Yes,
all I'm going to say.
you're welcome.
And welcome, and thank you, Beth, for the idea of the episode.
Yeah, Beth, this is awesome.
Shout out to Miss Buster Beth. Darien, do the thing.
The thing. Yes. Hi, everybody. It's Darien. I've been here the whole time. If you said that was really fun, but I'd love to hear her talk more about the books and the stories in modern pop culture with someone who's not Owen, you're in luck. You can come over to Muses and Mythology, where we talk about how ancient myths have become part of modern pop culture through the lens of Rick Riordan's works. I host that with my brother DJ. If you think that's super cool, but I want to hear her talk about a completely different middle grade YA book series, you're in luck. Over on Eragon and Back Again, me and my best friend Lucy Hart discuss Christopher Paolini's Inheritance Cycle chapter by chapter, spoiler free, from the lens of writing, story structure, narrative specifically. It's a little bit more mechanical.
Hence why you're on this one. That's
why I'm on this
that's
one.
the podcast that I was
Yes,
like,
that's the
Darien
specific
will be
one.
good at talking about language. So
I am.
yeah, if you want a more this sort of conversation, go
Yes,
to that one.
that's the one. And if you're like, that's all well and good, but I actually just want to hear this woman be unhinged for an extended amount of time, you're in luck. Over on the Bad Moon's Orbit, my good buddy Dalton Montgomery tells me all about the lore of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I know nothing about it, and I react viscerally to names I like or don't like. All of those are on your favorite podcatchers. Actually, no, I think Bad Moon's Orbit is only on Spotify, but they're all on Instagram and YouTube. You can follow us on YouTube if you want to see me do lip sync videos as different Greek deities. But more importantly than that, you should respond to whatever the question prompt is this week for Owen, and you should email him at through.t.mist@gmail.com. Owen works very hard on this show and has a lot of good ideas, and you should share your thoughts. I know this one had to conjure some thoughts because we were unhinged.
Oh, Robert, why aren't you at home with your Spanish copy? God bless.
God damn it.
Thank you for enjoying this theory. If you have any comments on this theory or theories of your own that you want to discuss, you can email them through to through.t.mist@gmail.com. Make sure to follow us on the Instagrams and threads @through_mist. Make sure to follow the podcast, like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, whatever you have to do to help get the podcast out there. I've been Owen, you've been
Darien!
and come back next time as we try to see through.